everyone, today I'm going to talk about how to add and subtract fractions. We will go through examples with and without common denominators. Before we get started, let's review what numerator and denominator mean. Numerator is the top number of a fraction and denominator is the bottom number. A tip to remember which is numerator is north and denominator is downstairs. So let's get started with an example of adding two fractions. We have 3/5 plus 4/5. Notice that the denominators are the same value, both 5. Since these fractions have a common denominator, we can keep them as is and carry the denominator over to our answer. Now all we need to do is add the numerators, 3 plus 4, which is 7. Since the denominator is the same, our final answer is 7/5. This answer is perfectly acceptable, although it is an improper fraction, meaning that when it's simplified, the value is greater than 1. We can also turn this into a mixed fraction, consisting of a whole number and a fraction. To do this, we can break 7/5 down. We start out with writing 5/5, which is equivalent to 1, and is also the max value of the fraction without it turning into an improper fraction. From here, we can ask how much further away is 7/5 from 5/5? The answer to this is 2, because 7 minus 5 is 2. This ultimately simplifies to 1 2/5 as a mixed fraction. Let's move on to another example. 62/135 plus 5/135. We can see that these fractions have a common denominator of 135, so this will be the denominator used in the answer. Don't let these big values intimidate you. The concept is still exactly the same. All we need to do now is add the numerators, 62 plus 5, which is 67. So our final answer is 67/135. What about when the denominators are not the same? Let's look at an example where this occurs. 1/3 plus 2/6. We see that we do not have a common denominator here, so before we add, we need to find the least common denominator. This is the smallest value both denominators have in common. An easy way to do this is to look at the multiples of each denominator. For 3, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, and so on. And for 6, we have 6, 12, 18, 24, and so on. While there are many common multiples of 3 and 6, the smallest one is 6. So this is what we are going to transform the denominators to so they are the same across both fractions. Since 2/6 already has this denominator, we can just move it down for now. How can we go from our denominator of 3 to 6? Multiplication. You can either think of it as 3 times blank is 6 and know that the missing value is 2, or you can count which multiple of 3 resulted in 6. When we count, we see that the value is 2. So we need to multiply the numerator and the denominator of this fraction by 2. It is important to do both the top and the bottom because multiplying by 2/2 is the same as multiplying by 1. This allows us to transform the fraction without actually changing the value of it. When we multiply, we get 2/6. So now we have a new fraction, 2/6 plus 2/6, which is 4/6. Now we can simplify this. You probably noticed that 4 and 6 are both even numbers, so both divisible by 2. So this results in 2/3 as our final answer in simplest form. When we consider subtracting fractions, it's the same concept as adding fractions. Let's look at an example. 9/12 minus 2/12. Since these fractions have the common denominator of 12, we can keep this denominator and subtract the numerators. 9 minus 2 is 7, so our final answer is 7/12. Easy enough. Similarly, we can use the same method as we previously saw for finding common denominators. Let's say we have 8/15 minus 1/3. Before we can subtract, we need to transform these fractions to have a common denominator. Let's write out some multiples of 15 and 3. For 15, we have 15, 30, 45, 60, and so on. Lots of big numbers. And for 3, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on. We can see that the smallest number in common between them is 15, so this is going to be our new denominator. We can keep our fraction 8/15 as is, since it already has this common denominator. We can see that 15 is the 5th multiple of 3, so we are going to multiply 1/3 by 5/5. This gets us 5 over 15. So now we can subtract 8 over 15 minus 5 over 15. Our final answer is 3 over 15, which we can simplify by dividing both the numerator and denominator by 3 to get 1 over 5. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have any questions, please put them in the comments and I'll try to answer. Continue to check out my page for more math tutorials in addition to cool science communication podcasts. Thank you for listening to Just One Bird's Opinion.